Well, in this problem, we have two thin circular discs of masses m and 4m, and the radii are a and 2a, as you can see in this figure, and they are rigidly fixed by the massless rod. So we don't have to worry about the moment of inertia of this rod, as it is massless. Its length is also given to us, and it is connecting the two centers of the disc. This assembly is laid on a firm and a flat surface and set rolling without slipping. So it's a case of a pure rolling on the surface, so that the angular speed about the axis of the rod is omega. So about this axle, the two discs are rotating with an angular speed omega. The angular momentum of the entire assembly about the point O is L vector, and we have to find which of the following statement is or are true. So basically in option A, we have to find Z component of this angular momentum. In option B, we have to find the magnitude of angular momentum of the entire assembly about its center of mass. In option C, we have to find magnitude of angular momentum of center of mass about the point O. And in option D, we have to find the angular speed of center of mass of the assembly about the Z axis. Well, this is one of the most challenging questions that IITs have ever asked. So let's see how we are going to solve this problem. Well, in order to solve this problem, let us try to understand what is this problem. In this case, we have an axle. About this axle, there are two discs which are mounted on it. So I'm going to call this axis as an axle about which the two discs are going to rotate with an angular speed omega. So basically this entire assembly is having an angular speed omega about this axle, and if you try to get its direction, it is going to be in this direction, which is your omega. So it's very easy, you just curl your fingers into the direction of this rotational motion, and this is how you are going to get the direction of this omega. Now see, this axle is also going to rotate about the Z axis, as it is a case of a pure rolling. So when the discs are rotating about this axle is also going to rotate about the Z axis. Well, this is one of the rarest problems that usually in IITs they do not ask questions in which even the axle rotates. Generally we have problems in which the axle usually is in pure translation. The axle do not rotate. So this is a problem in which we have two angular velocities of this assembly. So you can see that since this axle is rotating in this manner, therefore if you consider any point on this axle, let's say this is the point which we know that it is going to be the center of mass of the entire assembly, is going to revolve in the horizontal circular motion. And not just this point, in fact any point if you consider, all those points on this axle are going to execute a horizontal circular motion. And since the motion is in the horizontal plane, it's a circular motion, the angular velocity must be in the positive Z direction. And therefore we have to say that this entire assembly, in addition to this omega vector, also has another angular velocity vector which is going to be in the positive Z direction. So let us say that that angular velocity is alpha. And in fact in the D option they are asking us what is the angular velocity of center of mass about the Z axis. So that means we just have to find the value of this alpha in the D part of the question. So let us attempt D part first. So how we are going to find the value of this alpha? Well, for that we just need to write down all the dimensions which are already given in this problem. So let us say that C1 is the center of the smaller disk, C2 is the center of the bigger disk, and we know that the distance between C1 and C2 is equal to L. So this C1 C2 is equal to L, which is given to us as under root of 24 times A. Now this A is the radius of the smaller disk. Okay, now what about this center of mass? Well, we know that the center of mass will be somewhere in between C1 and C2, and in fact we can get its distance from the C1. Let's say the distance of C from the C1 is R1, and we can directly use the formula which is going to give us that R1 is equal to 4 by 5 times the total distance between C1 and C2, which is L. Well, we have just used the concept that center of mass divides the two particles in the inverse ratio of the distances between them. And we can assume that the entire mass small m is concentrated at C1 and the entire mass 4m is concentrated at C2 in order to locate the center of mass of the entire assembly. Similarly, we will get the value of R2, which is the distance of center of mass from C2, which is going to be equal to L by 5. Now, if you are interested into finding the distance of the center of mass from the origin O, then again we can write that this distance OC is going to be equal to L plus R1. So I'm going to directly write it as 9L by 5. And let's assume that this angle is theta. So if this angle is theta, we can also write the value of sine theta and cos theta, which may be needed. So the value of sine theta will be equal to perpendicular upon hypotenuse. Obviously, we will need the value of this hypotenuse. So let's say this distance, which is going to be the hypotenuse of the smaller right angle triangle that you can see, we can find it by using Pythagoras theorem. So when we do that, it is going to be L square plus A square under root. So we already know the value of L, which is under root 24 times A. So when you solve it, it is going to become 5 times A. So sine theta can be written as 1 by 5 and cos theta can be written as under root of 24 by 5. Well, we have written all the data that we might require. Now let's try to solve for the value of this alpha. So how we are going to do that? So it is very much clear that this entire assembly is going to have two angular velocity. One angular velocity is this omega vector that I have shown, and another angular velocity will be this alpha vector, which will be towards the z-axis. So if we have to find the net angular velocity of this entire assembly, then net angular velocity of the entire assembly is going to become this omega vector plus alpha vector. And in fact, if we want to write this net angular velocity in the form of I cap and j cap, we can do that. Let's consider that this horizontal axis passing through O is your x-axis, and you already know the z-axis and y-axis is going into the plane of the paper. So we can resolve this omega vector and we can write it, because this angle is also theta, this omega vector can be written as minus of omega cos theta I cap minus of omega sin theta k cap, and this alpha vector can be written as plus alpha k cap. So this is going to be the net angular velocity of the entire assembly. And now I am going to make use of the condition for pure rolling in order to get the value of alpha. So let's consider this smaller disk which is rolling on the ground. This is your origin O, and I am going to consider this point which is on the ground as point M, and another point is this point N which is on the edge of this disk, and this is the axle about which the disk is going to rotate, and the axle is also rotating. And we have already seen that this arrangement is going to have two angular velocity. One is in this direction omega, another is in this direction alpha. So we know that the condition of pure rolling is that the points of contact, that is in this case is M and N, they should have zero relative velocity. That means if this point M is having zero velocity, which is obviously because it is on the ground, this point N should also have a zero velocity. So I'm going to write the condition for pure rolling, which is going to become velocity of this point N, which is the bottommost point on the smaller disk we are considering, should be equal to 0. Now how we are going to write the value of this point N? It is very easy. It is the omega vector, which is the net angular velocity cross product with its position vector of the point N. This should be equal to 0. And we already know the value of net angular velocity, so we just have to take its cross product with the position vector of this point N and equate it to 0. So let's do that. The net angular velocity, we have already written it as minus omega cos theta I cap minus omega sin theta k cap plus alpha k cap. So this is your omega vector. We have to take its cross product with the position vector of this N, which is quite easy because the distance from O to N is equal to 5 times A, and therefore this position vector of this point N becomes 5A I cap. So this cross product must be equal to 0. So now when we solve it, we are going to get first term cross product with this 5A I cap is going to be 0. The second term, its cross product is going to be minus omega sin theta 5A k cap cross I cap is going to be j cap, plus now this third term, its cross product with 5A I cap is going to be alpha 5A k cap cross I cap will again be j cap, that is going to be equal to 0. So now it becomes alpha equal to omega times sine theta, and we have already calculated the value of sine theta, which was 1 by 5. So from here we get alpha equal to omega by 5. So this is going to be the angular velocity of the center of mass about the z-axis, as we have already seen, because we wanted to get the value of this alpha, which comes out to be omega by 5. Well, this is one of the way in which we can get the value of this alpha. There are other ways in which we can get this value, so let me tell you other methods too. So this is second method by which we are going to get the value of omega. So again, consider this small disk only, and this is the ground on which it is going to be in pure rolling. This is the axle about which it is going to rotate with angular velocity omega. This is z-axis, this is origin, this is your x-axis. Now again, if you consider this point M, which is on the ground and in contact with the disk, and this is the point N, which is on the edge of this smaller disk. So this point M is going to execute a horizontal circular motion like this, and the radius of this circle is going to be equal to 5 times a. So what is this point M? This point M is basically that point on the ground which is in contact with the disk. So at this particular moment, this is where you have this point M. So at the next moment, this point M will be at this place, and at the next moment it is going to be at this place. So in a sense, we can say that this point M is moving on the ground. Otherwise, obviously, this point M is on the ground and its velocity is going to be 0. But if we say that this is the point which is always in contact with the disk, so in that sense, we can say that this point is moving on the horizontal circle of radius 5a. Now, what about this point N? Well, this point N is a point on the edge of this disk, and obviously it is revolving in a circle of radius a about the axle. It's very much clear. So this point N is revolving in a circle of radius a. Now, by the time this point M completes one revolution, how many revolutions this point N is going to complete about this axle? So I'm writing it over here. By the time this point M completes one revolution, this point N is going to complete how many revolutions about the axle? It is very much clear. It is going to complete 5 revolutions. Why? Because its radius is 5 times smaller than the radius of this point M. And therefore, by the time this point M completes one revolution about its circle, then point N is going to complete 5 revolutions around the axle, and so we can say that this point N is moving faster, or we should say that this point N is revolving faster than this point M. How much faster it is revolving? It is revolving 5 times faster. So we can say that angular velocity of N about the axle is equal to 5 times angular velocity of point M. And this is common sense basically we are using. So angular velocity of point M becomes angular velocity of point N divided by 5. Now what is this angular velocity of point M as it rotates, as it revolves in a horizontal circular motion? It is nothing but your angular velocity of this center of mass of the assembly, which is also in the horizontal circular motion about the z-axis, because by the time this point M completes one revolution, in the same time the center of mass is also going to complete one revolution. And not just the center of mass, the center of the disk, all the points on the axle are going to complete the revolution in the same time about the z-axis. And this is why this omega M is nothing but your angular velocity of the center of mass about the z-axis, which we have considered as alpha. So we got alpha equal to, now what is this omega N? Omega N is the angular velocity of this point N about the axle. So we know that about this axle the angular velocity is omega. So this is omega divided by 5 comes out to be the value of alpha. So this is another way in which you can get the value of angular velocity about z-axis, which comes out to be omega by 5. Now there is one more approach. If these two approaches you're not able to digest, there is one more approach by which we can solve this. So this is your method 3. Now in this again you need to consider this smaller disk, and this smaller disk is rolling on the ground, and this axle about which it is rotating is also rotating about the z-axis. So this is your z-axis, this is your point O, and again we are going to consider this as your point M and this as your point N. So if we look at this point M, it is going to revolve in a horizontal circle like this as we did in the previous method. Now let's imagine after some time how this disk is going to look like. After some time, let's say the disk reaches at this point, and this is how the disk is going to look like. So this is the initial position of the M, and the distance from O is 5a. So what will be the final position of this point M? The point M will be here, and this is the position vector of this point M. So this is the new position of this point M. So you can see that this position vector of M has rotated by certain angle. Let's say this angle is theta prime. Now let's talk about this point N, because this point N is the point on the edge of this disk which is also revolving about the axle. So where will be this point N now? Well, this point N must be somewhere here. This is going to be the new position of the point N, and let's say it has been rotated by an angle theta about the axle. Now it is very much common sense to say that this distance by which this point M has moved must be equal to this distance by which point N has been moved, because they are in pure rolling. So these two curved lines which I have made, they are going to be same in length. So this distance, that means the distance moved by this point M around this circle, is going to be radius times the angle rotated by this position vector is theta prime. It must be equal to this distance, which is how much? It is going to be the radius of this disk, which is a, times the angle rotated by it, which is theta. So we can write that theta prime comes out to be equal to theta divided by 5. Now if we differentiate it, we are going to get d theta prime by dt is equal to 1 by 5 times d theta by dt. Now what is d theta prime by dt? It is the rate at which the angular displacement of this point M is changing in the horizontal plane. You know that. So this is nothing but the LHS side is alpha, and if you look at the RHS side, what is d theta by dt? It is the rate at which the angular displacement of the disk is changing with respect to this axle, about this axle. So this is going to be equal to omega divided by 5. So this is another way in which you can get the value of this alpha, which is the angular velocity of the center of mass of the assembly about the z-axis. Well, there is one more approach by which we can get the value of this alpha. So let's talk about that. So this is going to be method 4. Now in this particular method, basically it is an artistic method. You just have to visualize that there is an axle, and this axle is fixed. That means this axle is not rotating anywhere. It remains fixed at its own position. And now you imagine that there is a gear which is mounted on this axle, and that this gear can rotate about this axle with an angular speed omega. So this is a gear. It looks like this. Well, now you have another gear which is in the horizontal plane, which is going to look like this, and this gear can rotate in the horizontal plane, and the two gears are connected with each other. So this horizontal gear, its radius, let's imagine that it is 5 times a. So now you can visualize this situation that as this smaller gear is going to rotate with angular velocity omega about the axle, this larger gear which is in the horizontal plane is also going to rotate in the horizontal plane, and as it rotates, let's say its angular velocity is alpha, because it is rotating in the horizontal plane. So now if you consider this gear system, then we know that in a gear system the tangential velocities of the two gear must be same. So if you look at this smaller gear, what is going to be the tangential velocity of this gear? It is going to be omega times its radius, which is a, so it becomes omega a. And what will be the tangential velocity of this gear, which is in the horizontal plane? It is going to be its angular velocity, which is alpha, times 5a. So equating these two tangential velocity, alpha times 5a, it is going to be equal to omega a. We are going to get the value of alpha as omega divided by 5. So this is the fourth way in which you are going to get the value of alpha as omega divided by 5. So these are the four methods in which we can get the value of angular velocity of center of mass about the z-axis. However, there is one more method, fifth method, which does exist and which is very much popular on the internet. But in my opinion, that method is absolutely wrong. So let me explain you that method as well. So we are now talking about method number 5, which is going to be wrong as we are going to see it. So in this method, again, this is, let's say, your x-axis, this is your z-axis, this is your point O, this is the axle about which the disk is rotating. So we are only considering disk, the smaller disk, and this is the center of this smaller disk, which is referred by C1 by us. So we're just going to calculate the angular velocity of this C1 about the z-axis, which is going to be the same as the angular velocity of the center of mass. Well, in this method, what they have done, they have written the angular velocity of this point C1 with respect to O first. So how we are going to do that? We know the distance from O to C1 is equal to L, and at this moment you know that this point C1 is going into the plane of the paper. That means it is going towards the y-axis. So I am not writing that vector over here. I am representing it by a cross. It means that the velocity vector is into the plane of the paper, and let's say the velocity is v1. Okay, so if you sit at point O, the point C1 is going into the plane of the paper with velocity v1. So with respect to point O, what will be the angular velocity of this point C1? So basically we are writing angular velocity of C1 with respect to O, and let us denote it by capital omega vector, and you can get its direction by curling your fingers into the plane of the paper, and then you are going to get the direction of capital omega in this direction. So if I put it on this screen, it is going to be in this direction. This is going to be your capital omega. So this capital omega is the angular velocity of C1 with respect to O. Can we write its magnitude? It's very easy. The magnitude of omega will be equal to V1 divided by distance OC1, which is L. Now, according to that approach, alpha will be equal to the component of this capital omega towards the z-axis. So it is going to be, if this angle is theta, then this angle is also going to be theta. So alpha, which is the angular velocity of C1 about z-axis, we are just taking the component of this capital omega, which is in the form of this ohm. Okay, so alpha will become capital omega times cos theta. So if you solve it, it becomes V1 divided by L cos theta, and cos theta we already know that it is equal to base upon hypotenuse in this right angle triangle. So in this right angle triangle, the base is L and the hypotenuse, this distance is 5a, so it is 5a. So it becomes L by 5a. And in fact, in place of V1, they have written the condition for pure rolling as V1 equal to omega times radius, which is the radius of this disk is a. So we can also replace this V1 by omega a. So you get the value of alpha as omega by 5. So surprisingly, you are getting the correct answer. That is, the value of alpha will be, alpha is the angular velocity about z-axis as omega by 5. You are getting correct answer, but remember, this method is absolutely wrong. So if this method is wrong, then why are you getting the correct answer? Well, that is because you are committing two mistakes in this problem, and those two mistakes are counteracting their effects. So let me tell you what are those two mistakes in this problem. One of the mistake is this, that V1 is equal to omega A is the condition for pure rolling. Well, this is not the condition for pure rolling. The condition for pure rolling will be V1 equal to omega net times A. So this is the first mistake in this approach. This is the correct equation, that V1 is equal to omega net times A, that's the condition of pure rolling. So where will be the another mistake? The another mistake committed in this approach is going to be alpha equal to capital omega times cos theta. According to this equation, capital omega is greater than alpha, which is definitely not the case. Well, why this is definitely not the case? Because this point C1 is moving in the horizontal plane, and since this point C1 is moving in the horizontal plane, its angular velocity will be in the z direction. So if you try to find its angular velocity in any other direction about any other point, then its angular velocity will always be less than this alpha, and therefore alpha will not be less than capital omega. It is the other way around. It is going to be alpha will be greater than capital omega. This is the correct relation. And if you really want to know the correct relation, this relation is wrong. This is your second mistake. The correct relation is going to be that capital omega is equal to alpha times cos theta, because this is your alpha and the component of alpha is going to be equal to this capital omega. So I hope you understood that why this fifth method is wrong, which is very much popular on the internet, and that when you commit two mistakes, the two mistakes are going to cancel their effect and you are going to get correct answer. So now if you look at this option D, then you will find that this option D is going to be the correct answer to this question. However, we have to check for other options as well. So let's do that.